It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 4 p.m. and say hello to myself and to Marco. We'll put our names on the screen so that you know who we are. And we are live today to talk about something dear to our hearts. If I can find it, just give me a second. Yep, got it. So, first thing is welcome to the show, everyone.
Hello,
And
hello.
hola, this is Marco and Steven. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to talk about types of live streaming or types of live stream. Because this is, would you like to start? Because I don't know whether I love solo, 2 people on screen or 4 people on screen. So whilst I make up my mind, would you like to start?
maybe the first one you should do is a presentation live stream. Yeah, because I guess we should, because one thing people ask me often is what kinds of live streaming we could do. And one thing it's very important, it's to think about what could happen, what you should prepare. Because for instance, one of the ways you can do live streaming solo is Q&A. So you have your community asking you questions and you answer in real time. But there's a problem with that. For instance, if your uh, audience is not engaged, they don't talk. For instance, in Portugal, it happens almost all the time. They are watching you very,
Yeah.
very quiet. And so, one thing I like to say to people is, you can give tell next week, for instance, on Friday, I'm going live with a Q&A. If you want, you can start now putting questions. You can use an hashtag, for instance, to check all the websites, networking, and so on, to find those questions, because that's the risk of going live with a Q&A show. If your audience doesn't engage and doesn't put any questions, you will be here also.
Well, it is a
And
problem. Yeah.
go, 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 go.
No, major problems, major problems. If you're going to do a question and answer, you've got to have somebody to ask the questions. Now, you could cheat and you could give
Yeah,
yourself the questions. Yeah. So you take a topic and you put half a dozen questions together and then you talk about those. But that's not engaging people. I was just, for the first time ever, we took a 2 o'clock show over to YouTube. Yeah. And we had an audience of 1. Very valuable person. And
yeah,
he was commenting all the way through the show. But it's a lot better if you've got 2 or 3 people actually watching and commenting. I mean, we're fortunate today to have somebody watching us, which is good. And if you want to say hello, we'll know who you are, though you don't need to identify yourself. But to actually run a question and answer session, you do need participation from the audience. And as you said, you've got to build that audience first. It's no use, you can't just switch on and hope that people are going to find you. You've got to actually build the audience first, haven't you? So that they know that you're going to go live. And I know that when you do your solo shows, you get a lot of people turning up.
yeah. For instance, I started talking about a topic. I choose a topic. Today we're gonna talk about this. La 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 la, and that's it. You can also, for instance, to start with a webinar, but about the webinar, well, if it's just talking, it's okay. But for instance, if you are making a tutorial about a tool, about
Mhm.
how to post on Facebook, about how to use Photoshop or something, first check if it's everything okay. Because when you are using tools at the same time, your computer may crash. It happens.
You're telling me, yeah, yeah. Before you go live, you must restart your machine and go straight to Chrome, straight to the broadcast, and don't do anything else. Don't look at anything else. Don't go to the news sites. And because the thing is that if you've been using your computer for any length of time, you've been using software, and you say, right, I don't need that software anymore, I'll close it. You can't see it, but it's still there, and it's taking up memory. And the more software that you actually use, the more web pages you open, all take up your computer's resources and memory. And when you go live, they're still running. And if they decide that they want to do something in the background, you can slow your network down, you can slow everything down, and you will not get the best broadcast possible. So I agree, Marco, that you've got to start from scratch. You've got to reboot your computer and then go straight to the broadcast and try and get it working. Yes.
Yeah, because
Uh,
for instance, I'm trying to record my class about going live on YouTube, and for instance, I'm using Manicam as the my camera,
mhm.
and it when it opens the window, the pop up to allow YouTube to go live on Be.Live, it's it's there. Zen, woo.
Oh, listen,
It
yeah,
doesn't go. So it's very important to use only what you really need when you're recording, because if it's there stopping you and thinking, it's not so good.
right.
I think if you are making a tutorial about a tool, I guess it's better to record it and then upload it to your network instead of doing that live, because it could
Well,
go very wrong.
well, the thing is, when you're doing a course or a tutorial, what you want is people to actually watch it and listen to it. So therefore, you've got to get both the video and the sound perfect. Because if you don't, people just won't watch it. It's as simple as that. And especially if you are, as we both do, doing courses on Udemy, you can occasionally try and use live video, but the best way, as you just said, is to actually record it locally with not going on the internet. Use Manicam, as you said, or use Screencast-O-Matic, and then you've got something solid where the video is good, the audio is good, and people will more likely watch it. And then upload it to Facebook or to YouTube as a premiere, and be there when your audience are watching. I mean, that's what we're going to do with the show we did at 2 o'clock today. We did on YouTube, as I've just mentioned. I'm downloading that. I downloaded that before we came here, and I'm going to upload it to Facebook as a premiere. Have you done many premieres, Marco?
Not really. What do you have to say about it?
Right. Okay. Well, the question was asked today in Be.Livers. Somebody said, right, okay, I'm going away, but whilst I'm on vacation, I have a show. And what do I do? Can I pre-record it? And the answer to that was yes, you can come straight to the Be.Live Studio 2. You can record offline. So you record the whole show as if you're doing it live. You then download the recording onto your hard drive. Then go to Facebook and you go upload video in the normal way. So you upload the video. You type in a title and a description, and then you click the next button, and it says, what type of video is it? Do you want to show it now, or do you want it to be a premiere? If you want it to be a premiere, what time do you want it to go live? And that can be any time in the next, I think it's 7 days. And you can actually schedule the date and the time that it goes live. And it will go live at the time you set. So if I set a video to go live at 7 o'clock tonight, it will go live at 7 o'clock tonight. Then I've got a choice. I can either just let it run, or I can be there. And as people are actually watching the video, I can actually take comments and make comments and have a discussion whilst the video is playing.
That's nice.
Yeah, can't hear you.
But I guess the one of the most important things about this is the engagement, the availability to you have to talk with your audience. At least
Mhm.
you're there, even though they don't talk to you, but at least you're there.
That's true. That's true. Well, it's a different way of doing things. Um, I have heard of people who actually get a more viewers when they do a premiere than when they go live, which doesn't make sense to me. But it happens. That's the way they're doing it, and I think what happens is that with a live video like we're doing now, it's hit and miss as to who actually sees us when we're live. Lots of people watch us on the replay, we know that. But going live, you've got to be live at the time that people are online. And Facebook's got to decide that this video should be shown in people's timelines. Yeah. Whereas with a premiere, Facebook wants more premieres. So it advertises them. It pushes them into more people's timeline as soon as they start. Yeah. So Facebook seems to be favoring premieres over live at the moment. I'm doing one later today, so I'll let you know whether it works or not. My fingers are crossed.
I guess I have to check because I guess I made one premiere, not
Uh-huh.
and watch parties also. I made a couple of them, and
Mm.
it
Yeah.
doesn't give me exuberant
No,
results.
no, no. But when you go live on your own, you get the feedback, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the instant feedback. It's because people are actually watching you live and you're enjoying what you're doing and people are enjoying what you're talking about and they will come in and ask questions or make comments or cheer you on and support you. The thing about live video is that everybody supports us. Yeah. It's very rare well, it's non-existent. We don't get a situation where people watch a live video to annoy us. They actually watch a live video
I
because they
had
want
I
to.
had one once,
Oh, right.
but
Okay.
yeah, it was a year and something ago. But
Right.
okay, it's cool. It's an experience. At that point, I didn't know what to do. I get completely confused and uh, awkward. But
Mm.
today, if it was today, I know how to manage.
It's yeah. When it happens the first time, you don't know should you respond, should you not respond. If you do respond, what should you say? Should you show the comment on the screen? Should you ignore it? And it just throws you. But solo shows question and answers. We've decided the best way to do it is to tell people in advance. And as Marco said, you need an audience on a solo show. Now, the next type of broadcast that we wanted to touch on today is the interview. This is totally different because it's two of you on screen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, the, it is because if you have a good relationship and a good rapport with the person you're actually talking to, or you're friends with the people you're talking to, then it makes it a lot easier. And we've got a comment.
Hello, Kelly.
Say hello to Kelly, and Kelly is saying, "I'm watching you two right now. I've seen Mario Ficini on YouTube do it like a podcast, sound only with a photo displayed." Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go and check him out after Kelly and see how he did it. Um, okay. So, and hello to everybody who's watching, and thank you, Kelly, for commenting. Kelly is helping the shows today come alive, and we're talking about interviews. Now, you are the Michael Parkinson of interviews because you've done many interviews.
Yeah. Reaching almost 100.
Right? Wow. Yeah. Right. What's special about an interview?
Well, it's hard to where to start.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's a great way to build your personal branding and to get known, to make friends, because anytime you have a guest which is known as an expert in something, somehow that expertise is transferred to you. It's something because the people think, oh, if that guy which is an expert in that field is accepted an invitation from whoever it is, it's because he recognizes that he's also something to to share. He's a people which can bring something to us. One of the things I've been um, that's very good also on interview. It's a great way for you to learn. Sometimes or almost all the times, I I use my guest to ask my questions, to put my doubts, and to get my ideas clear. It's something that you should do also. Some people say there is a free consulting, which is also true. One thing is also that your guest could bring his community to your shows, so you get known by your guest community, and the reverse also. It allows your guest, and you should think about a win-win relation. You could bring your community to your guest, so he can, because I guess it is also good for your audience to know that person, so they can get some more knowledge, some more insights, some more ideas that could help. For instance, I usually I bring marketing specialists in all the fields of marketing. And some of them I'm not a specialist, so I bring another people to talk about it. So it's a nice way also for people. Oh, I want to know about this. I know where to find it. I remember a guy or a girl who was with Marco, and he knows a lot about this. Let me check. And for me, also a nice thing that the interviews brought me, it's the availability to speak another language or languages. For instance, I guess I've made 97 uh, interviews, some of them with more than one guest. I remember, for instance, one of them I made with two girls, one speaking Portuguese, the other one speaking Spanish. It was very challenging. I made
Wow.
also two shows at least with where the both me and my guest were not Spanish native speaking, but we did the show in Spanish because it's the main language I've been using on my shows because of its strategic, and it's a nice way also to improve your language skills, I guess. And it's also a nice way to make friends. For instance, I've met uh, Steven, and after he was on my show twice, and since then we are talking a lot. We even in behind the screen.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's also a great advantage. It's good to meet. For instance, to make network. It's amazing. I've a huge network for me that I'm on a small uh, town. And I live on the countryside. I don't live on the town and on the city. I'm on the countryside. And for instance, I've been putting people in contact. For instance, in the United States. Oh, I know someone from your country that
Mm.
may be interesting to you. Do you want me to introduce you? And from Mexico and so on. Me, that I'm here in a small country. And it's amazing for me. But one thing I think, and I guess you agree with me, Stephen.
Hmm.
It's very important for you if you want to start an interview, interview show, to be really aware of what you're doing, to have a solo career really good, uh, when you know everything you should do, you need to do, because one of
Mm.
the things you should give to your guest is safety. They
Hmm.
should feel safe,
Yes.
comfortable, because live streaming is, as I used to say, is the most difficult way to make video and to produce content, because it's only you and your and no safe at all. Everything could happen, and your
Everything does.
yeah, and your guests should feel comfortable. So if you are frightened, very scared, and you're hosting a show, I don't think it will go okay.
It won't, because what the thing is that when you're hosting the show and producing the show, you set the mood. Yeah. And if you're in a bad mood, then it's not going to be a good interview. If you're miserable and sad, it's not going to be a good interview. So as a host or a producer, you've got to get yourself in the right mood. You've got to make your guest feel that you want to get to know them, that you want them to share their information with your audience. You've got to make them feel special. And the only way to do that is to actually pay attention to what they're saying and listen to what they're saying. And the other thing is, as an interviewer, I look at it this way, that people come to watch my shows. That's good. But when I've got a guest on the show, they'll be coming to watch my guest, which means that it's not me who should talk all the time. It should be mostly the guest who does all the talking. I answer the questions, I add my own stories, but they're the ones telling the main stories that people want to listen to. They're the ones answering the questions on the topic. And as you said, one of the joys of actually doing an interview is to interview somebody on a topic which you're interested in and learn at the same time as the audience does. And that's the magic of interviews, really. But I think you do have to respect your guest and your audience and let them speak.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No?
For instance, I often say, because sometimes you have a great guest, and some of them are not so great. And for some people, they could be tempted to, oh, let me give. But one thing we should think about it is, if you want to make a regular uh, interview show,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, uh, I don't know how to say, humiliate, not
Ah,
not so bad, but um, because people are watching, and it shows you, people will notice if the host, it's kind of, oh, you're not so good to the guest.
that's true. I mean, you can tell the guest after the show if you want, but to actually say something negative or to make fun of a guest
Yeah,
uh, backfires, because
absolutely.
if you make fun of a guest, people see that, well, you don't respect this person you're interviewing. You don't care about them, and we've got a duty to actually care about the people who are actually being interviewed. It's not easy, but it is enjoyable, and everybody benefits from a good interview show, and that's what we're all trying to do. Um, and it's easier to be kind to somebody than it is to try to make fun of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for it's a small world. And for instance, you my guests, almost them, all of them have been invited by me. Some
Hmm.
just a few, and when it happens, it was the second time they were with me. There are some people that, oh, Marco, I have this nice issue to talk about. Do you want to have me? And because I know them,
Yeah,
it's very important, the casting also.
true, true. Yeah.
it's it's very important to have people which connect with you. For instance, one thing I used to do, if I don't think that I match with the person, I don't invite them. I
Right.
had some professionals which are very experts on their field. They know a lot about their field, but I know that like the personal side of them don't match with mine. So
Hmm.
I don't invite. I have a list with
Uh-huh.
names, and some of them were erased from there
Right.
because I don't match it,
Understood.
and
Well,
and
yeah.
that's life.
Well, there has to be a chemistry, doesn't there?
Absolutely,
There's got to be a fit, a good fit between
absolutely.
yourself and the guest. And part of actually working that out is to actually talk to them before the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
Um,
important.
it's very, because then you can sort of check each other out and decide whether you're going to get on during the show. And as Marco said, there are people that I wouldn't interview either. I'm not going to name them, but they know who they are. But yeah, I mean, the other problem is that if you don't talk to your guests before the show, then you can get a very a strange feeling. If you ask them a question and the answer is yes or no, then they're going to say yes or no. Now,
Yeah.
some people will say yes, and this is why, and some people will say no, and that's the reason. But when you get a guest who, and they do come occasionally, where all they do is answer the question with a yes or no, or maybe, then it's not good to watch. What you're trying to do is to get people to tell their stories. So never, I try not to ask closed questions so that there has to be an open answer to it. I mean, if I asked you, if I just an example, Marco, do you live in Portugal?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Marco, whereabouts in Portugal do you live and why do you live there?
Well, I live in Viana do Castelo, which is a small town on the north of Portugal, really close to Spain. That's
Uh-huh.
and I live here because my parents were born
Ah,
close to here, even though they were both of them in France for a while.
mm-hmm.
In the beginnings of the 70s, they they come they come back to Portugal in 77. I've been born here. My sister was born in Paris.
So
It's
you have
clever.
you have a French sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were born on the same day,
Uh,
with 2 years of difference. We are
wow.
twins with 2 years difference.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they my parent worked on the building. He was a painter,
Uh-huh.
but buildings not art.
Okay. Yeah.
And my mother took care of the house. Even today, she took care of the house. My parent, unfortunately, is not here anymore.
Right.
And yeah, I like. I'm a real. How should I say this? I'm um, I'm a territorial guy. I mean, even though I've been studying, Porto, I like to travel, but I feel really comfortable being here. It's
Mm.
For instance, my sister went to study to Porto also, and she stayed there. I came back.
Right. Well, city, living in a city. I mean, I couldn't live in London because there's lots to do, but it is too busy. And I love like you. I love the countryside. I love to be able to go outside my house and just walk into the countryside and enjoy the fresh air. And you can't do that to the same extent when you actually live in a city. And the other
Absolutely.
thing about living in a village or a town is that you get to know people, and in addition to that, it's just quieter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your own pace of life. You set the pace. Whereas if you live in a city, you've got to be here and there and everywhere. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we're on the same page. Right. You see, now that's the difference between the yes and no answer, which you gave to where do you live in Portugal, and the fact that you told several stories, which were because you
Hello,
you asked
Jan.
now.
And there's a problem, Stephen, about the very narrow answer. If you have a way, for instance, you make a question thinking, oh, he or she will answer yes, and then I go to another point. And if the answer is no,
Yeah.
you be no ground, no
No,
ground at
no,
all.
no, no. Right. We say hello to Jan. Jan, thank you for joining
Hello,
us.
Dan. How are you?
Nice to see you. Right. Now, preparing for 2020. We're getting to the situation where it's time to start thinking about 2020. And one of the things that is good, I'll just take a comment from Jan and I'll carry
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
Nature is important to our, we totally agree. Is planning for 2020 is that I am trying to build an audience. We're all trying to build an audience, always trying to build an audience. So I've got a new way of doing it. And it's a little experiment. I won't hold you to this. But if you're watching now or you're watching the replay, if you type the word, I'm going to put the word in now. I want people to test this to make sure that it works. If you type in the comments the word, and it should appear in a second, we're counting down. We're waiting for the word to appear. There we are. If you type the word email into the comments, then you'll get a message in Messenger. And then if you just follow the instructions there, and it looks like the show's just come to life because, right, we've got a comment from Kelly. Is saying hello to Jan, and we're joined by Corinda. Corinda's back in the UK, everybody.
Hello.
And Corinda's saying hello to both of us, and is watching the replay. Corinda, we're live. Hello.
Hello.
Right, and Corinda's typed email. Thank you, and Kelly has typed email. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's just a little experiment. Let's see what we can do. I'll explain later in the week, but thank you for joining in. Right, okay. So I suppose the final thing, if we just go on to the final topic, which is talk shows. Talk shows are my favorite,
Yeah.
because I've produced and hosted a talk show for the last 4 years, and it goes out at 10 a.m. every Thursday. That's 5 a.m. Eastern, and it's 4 men from Aberdeen and from Stoke and from Birmingham, sorry, Solihull, and from Wiltshire. And we've been talking together every Thursday at 10 o'clock for an hour, all about what's happening in the UK and around the world. We have such fun. We've become such friends. We've met each other. And we talk about anything and everything. And it's a dynamic. I mean, simple math. If you're doing a 60-minute show and it's just you've got to talk for 60 minutes. If you're doing a 60-minute show and there are two of you each talk for 15 minutes. If you're doing a 60-minute show and there are four of you, then you only talk for 15 minutes on average. So it's a lot easier to do, is what I'm saying. Marco, what do you enjoy about talk shows?
Well, first of all, it's very challenging to manage because when I made talk shows, I made it with more than four people. I guess coming in, coming out.
Right. Yep.
It's really challenging to manage all that. Well, if interview, you should be really secure about what you're doing. If you are doing a talk show, it's even worse. and I've been waiting to be available to do simulcast, which for me
All
is
right. Yeah.
the Formula One about going live. But yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
it's really challenging to manage all the people going out, coming in, and so on. And it's to, if you want to get really nice insights, it's for me the nicest way, because you have one people which shares his point of view, and then you, well, let me think. It's okay. It gives you another point of view, and sometimes it
Yeah.
lights something. It's really nice.
It's like having a dinner party
Absolutely.
where you invite the guests and you give them the food and wine, and then they start talking, and you're just leading the conversation and making sure the conversation flows. And one of the benefits of that, because you're doing 4 people, it's always going to be somebody talking, is that's an ideal way to actually repurpose it as a podcast. Yeah, because there are no gaps. There's no spaces. There's no point where people aren't talking. Just before we sign off, Kelly's saying, can you do a poll on Facebook or YouTube with Be.Live too? Nope, we can't at the moment. We will be able to. I can see the icon. I can see the icon to the left of me, and a comment from Jan. This is it. I'm going to be interviewed. Jan accepted. Stephen, I would love to have you on my broadcast to promote Be.Live. Happy to do so, Jan. If we can chat after the show, just let me know when, where. I'll turn up, have microphone, we'll travel. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you for the invitation. And that's what I love about live video, especially these sort of live videos where the unexpected happens.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
happened also to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
I've been. It was for it. It's funny because with my guests, some friends of him came, and then one, it's a teacher on a school on the south of Spain, and he was looking. Oh, I like you, Marco. I have a project which it's nice. It's a school, a professional school. I don't think if you have the same kind of thing there in UK.
Professional.
It's more oriented to do, not so much to academic thing.
Oh, right. Okay. A trade.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Okay.
And he told me it was live, this
Yeah.
conversation. Look, I have this project. So I used to invite professionals around, most all of them Spanish speaking, from Spain and so from
Yeah.
Latin America, and I guess I've been the first Portuguese there, and I made the class for the boys. It was 2 weeks ago. They love, they write posts and so on. They burn Twitter with nice reviews and nice
Oh,
comments
brilliant.
about it. It was amazing. That's also because you're doing the things. That's one thing about live streaming. It's real. You're not pretending. You are showing what you know, showing what you do. So it's nice, and it happens, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, like it happened to you, that people in real time invites you to.
Magical. That's the magic
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
live video. Yeah.
Because it's one thing. It's, for instance, it happened to me once, I guess. Fortunately, uh, I I've seen someone who wrote a blog post about some topic, and I liked the blog post, and then I invited them. Well, do you want? Yes, of course. Yeah. And she was reading a PowerPoint. She made all the live streaming looking at the side. Oh, and there's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Ah.
different. It's different when you make an interview and you are here live and you have to be spontaneous, and you're, because a blog post, it's nice, but it's not the same kind of knowledge you share there. It's not just because, as I used to say, a blog post is like when you have exams on school. You study the night before, and then you, okay, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I much prefer to go live than to write a blog post.
Me too.
Definitely.
Even though I like to write and I like to play with words, but it's for me it's a tough process because you have to study, you have to to follow the rules to CEO and so on. And for me, it's
Well, we're finishing on a positive note, and Marco, it's over to you.
okay. I guess we gave you real good reasons to start going live. If you don't know how to go live and you need a nice tool to do it, you Be.Live for sure. Be.Live. This this one, it has also on this corner the
Yeah,
logo.
and you got your hat. Yeah.
If you want to know how to use it, if you are English speaker, you can search on Udemy the course of Steven. If you talk português, se falas português, vais ao Udemy, procuras lá curso Be.Live ou Marco Novo e encontras o meu curso. Si tú hablas en castellano, estés en España o en el otro lado del charco, en Latinoamérica, puedes igual buscar el curso Udemy de Be.Live o por Marco Novo y encontrarás ahí, puedes encontrar, a mi opinión, la herramienta más sencilla, más rápida y más interesante de utilizar para hacer vídeos en directo como estamos haciendo ahora Steven y yo.
Right, I just got 2 comments, and first one is from Kelly, and Kelly is saying, another person from Canada too, Stephen. Yeah, indeed, Jan is in Vancouver, and it's overcast and 9 degrees, just like the UK. And Jan is saying, I wonder why you can see people's name here when you aren't in a closed group, but I cannot see people's name. Right, okay. Yes, when you're broadcasting on your profile or a page, it's public, okay, and there are no privacy issues. Okay, it's totally public. When you broadcast into a private group, then Facebook has said that the people who Be.Live and like Zoom and everybody, all those people cannot have access to names and photographs of people who are commenting. So they're not stopping you or I or Marco from seeing them. They're stopping Be.Live and everybody else from seeing them. But you can get around it. There is a link which you can ask your viewers in the group to click. And as soon as you click that link, just the once, then you'll be able to see their name and their picture when you go live in the group. It's a workaround. It's basically Facebook trying to help us, which they are, of course, but it can be annoying. So I'll give you the link afterwards, Jan. Thank you for the question. From Wiltshire in England, thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.
From Viana do Castelo, Portugal.
Bye.
Bye-bye.